Today we're going to be talking about, again, this is the series on Transform, and we're going to be talking about our physical health, right? Last week we talked about our spiritual health, this week we're going to talk about our physical health. And the passage that I'm going to use for that later on will come to you from Psalm 23, verses 1 through 6. You know, one of the things that I tried to find out is who invented the stress ball. I mean, I Googled it and couldn't find it. Usually Google has the answer for everything. All I could find was that, it has got its roots back in China somewhere. What I do remember is, I remember that it was just like this balloon that somebody filled up with a bunch of sand and made a knot. Remember that? And then you just take it and you squeeze it and it's supposed to release all the stress that's in your life. And then all of a sudden a bunch of them started coming out, all these different forms, and companies started making some with the logos on it, and then you go to these conventions and trade shows and you come home with 10 of those things, right? And it's interesting because now you can even get them free. Really. You buy one and you get them free. That's how it works, right? You can do that. And it's amazing that we'll do all kinds of crazy stuff to just reduce the stress in our lives. And you'd be amazed to find out how much information is out there about this particular stress situation. Check this out. There are over 69,000 books written on stress. It's amazing. There are over 25,000 journals that have been written about stress. There are over 205 newspaper articles that have been written about stress. I mean, and it's amazing how much money we spend on stress. Now, I know some people are smiling because this is a topic that is not new to us. We've heard about it many times. Now, the American Psychological Association did a study, and this really caught my attention. Believe it or not, the millennials, which is the current, right, except for those maybe, you see, Nick, you're like on borderline. You're somewhere in there, definitely right in the year there. But the millennials, it says, that the millennials have a higher level of stress than the baby boomers and the Xers. And so what it's telling us is that with each generation, the level of stress continues to go up. I mean, it blew my mind. I couldn't believe that. And it's because when our body is threatened, when it's threatened with all these things that are going on in our lives, this emotional and physical and spiritual, mental stress takes place and it kicks in. Now, you're also going to hear that stress is good, and it is. I mean, if you're standing in the road and you're about to get hit by a truck, I'm hoping you're stressed because it's what's going to give you the fuel, the adrenaline to get out of the way. So some stress is important. We talked about the women's breakfast. Some stress for a leader was important. So the little details you're talking about were there. It's good. It's good to have that. But this chronic stress that these studies are talking about, and the scientific and medical studies regarding our stress levels in the States and in our lives and our physical and mental health especially, this is killing us. It's absolutely killing us. And so today we're going to look at some of the habits, right, of our physical health. And we're going to look at some of the causes of stress in our lives. And then we want to look at those causes and then look at the biblical antidotes on how to deal with these common stressors in your life. So here it is. If you're tired, or have been during this week, or if you've experienced some stress, feel stressed out, or you know somebody who is, this message is for you. It really is. Now, there are a lot of reasons for stress, and I looked at a bunch of them, and I'm just going to share 7 with you. Some of which I was familiar with, and some that I was not, but yet they make a lot of sense. For example, we all know that worry. Worry is the #1 source of stress, because there's so much more to worry about than any time before. For example, identity theft. Buying a cell phone. Or even the cell phone itself, the video games. How many of you can say video games has become a point of stress for kids, for the parents? TV programs have become a source of stress. We live in a really complex world today, more complex than it's ever been before. And boy, I'll tell you, I gotta tell you, I feel for parents who have kids that are somewhere in the age of 6, 7, 8. I mean, it's so much tougher for them. I thought it was tough for us. It's really getting tough for them to raise their kids, especially when you look at these studies, right? Because it's a complex world. The second one is hurry. Now, that one we know. That one makes sense. We're always in a hurry. This is how we need to do it today. It has to happen today. Faster and faster. Microwave in nanoseconds, right? I mean, that's the world we live in. We wanted it yesterday. We wanted it, today, or ASAP, or PDQ, or whatever, acronym you want to give it. We always want it right now. That's the world that we live in. We want it immediately. This is one that I didn't expect, and that was the crowds. But it makes all the sense. We're becoming more populated. There are more people in the world today, and we're becoming more urbanized than before. People are moving to more populated areas. For example, San Juan is one of those examples, right? Because where most of the jobs are and the economy tends to be a little bit more robust. And so the rural life has changed. In fact, the stats show that 83% of Americans live in a city today. And it tells us that there are over 500 cities that have more than 1 million people. That's a huge number. Americans waste 4 billion hours in traffic jam and over $6 billion. I don't know if it's dollars or gas. I think it's dollars in gasoline in traffic. Now tell me that doesn't cause stress, right? It's the crowds. It's the being crowded. Here's another one that I didn't expect, but makes sense also. It's multiple choice. I didn't know multiple choice, but then I thought to myself, okay, get a guy in front of a TV that has Hulu, Netflix, Apple TV, 300 channels on cable TV. You've only got 2 DVRs and you're figuring out, okay, I want to record this program and I want to record that one, but then this one's in conflict, so how do I get another DVR so I can make sure that one happens too? And you're sitting there trying to figure out, what program am I going to watch today? Multiple choice, which was supposed to free us, is a source of stress. I see people smiling, especially the guys. We know it's true. Come on, I mean, I'll confess. It is. I mean, it is. We've got more choices. And instead of being freeing, it's more paralyzing. And Ken, don't make gestures. I'm watching. Ken is sitting there saying, the nerve there. More restaurants, more movies, even toothpaste. I mean, it used to be easy, right? Now you go and there's like 20 choices of which one whitens more, which one cleans more, which one, is more sensitive to your gums. And it's the same thing with chips. It used to be just Wise chips, You got the curly ones or the regular ones. Now you got all these choices, right? And then, of course, even water. Got like 10 different brands. And which one's on sale? And so, cough syrup. Oh my gosh, you get a cold, you go buy cough syrup. You used to buy 2 brands. Now they got like all these different brands. You're figuring out this is DEM, this one just has D, whatever. I mean, it's crazy. And instead of being free, it's paralyzed. The other one is loss of privacy. Again, another one that I didn't expect, but it makes all the sense in the world. If you look at this world we live in, the government and corporations, by the way, all keeping tabs on you. Did you know that? This is real simple. Go into a real estate app and say, I want to know what the values of the homes in Lake Nona, Florida are. Just because you want to do a search. In less than an hour, you're going to have a text. Say, I just found the house you were looking for, the price you were looking for, and I get you a finance. And where did they get that information from? Because you're Googling it. They're watching you. I mean, it's just they're watching where you go, they're watching who you go with, they want to know what you're doing and why you're doing that. It's all these trends. They're keeping records even of when you started using Pampers because they want to know when you're going to be moving on the trip to the Pampers. I mean, they want to know when you're going to go from Hot Wheels to the wheelchair. I mean, they're doing that, and you feel like there's an invasion of your privacy, and that causes a little bit of stress because you're wondering, there's things about my life. I don't want the government or any corporation watching that, but it happens and it causes stress. The other one is pluralism. Right? Again, that's another one that I hadn't thought about, but it makes all the sense in the world, right? Because we live in a world where people now share different beliefs, different convictions, different lifestyles and cultures. 100 years ago or more, the world was a little bit more, at least America was, more homogeneous. We shared some of the same values, some of the same customs. There were some differences, but they've changed and they're so broad-based now. We don't share those values. Technology has shrunk the world, for example. And we're more of a melting pot, or I call it more like a stew, or maybe like gumbo. It's got just a whole bunch of stuff in it. We're all kinds of different people, different cultural values, different ideas, and that means that it's going to create conflict. It is. It's not that anybody intentionally does it, it just happens because people are different, we think different, and so that does create some conflict. And then of course you've got the media that doesn't help at all, because the media, what it does is it points out all of their differences in us. And one of the things I love about the gospel, One of the things I love about the Bible, one of the things I love the church, is it helps us focus on what we share in common. And that's the grace of God in Jesus Christ. Amen. And yet these things stress us. That's where we are. And of course, the seventh one is fear. Fear of the future. That what if, in all areas of our lives, right? What if this happens? What if that happens? You know, what if I'm not able, if that investment doesn't go through? What if that sale doesn't go through? What if I'm not able to provide for my family? All the what ifs in our lives. And so that's why today I want to share with you what I think is the antidote to this stressful life that we're living, whether it's you or someone that you know. And I tell you, it's right in the Psalms. Psalm 23, verses 1 through 6. Just six short verses. So I want you to follow along with me and read with me this psalm. Okay? Read it to yourself, but I want to read it because it's one of those that's really profound. And look what it says. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd, so I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Isn't that a beautiful psalm?
Yeah.
Isn't that a beautiful psalm? It's one of the most beloved psalms that you find in the Bible. And you hear it oftentimes at funerals, and yet it's, for sure, it is definitely for the living. This is a psalm for the living. Because when you dig deep into it, when you understand fully the metaphors that are in this psalm, it's going to tell you how to manage your stress. It's the best management stress book around. Think about that. What was it, 65,000 books have been written? This book was written 2,000 years ago, and stress management is there. It's been there all the time. I've tried to look at the Bible. There are all kinds of stuff in there, answers to your life. Here's this psalm that's going to talk to us today about stress. Now, before I get into the psalm, I want to ask a rhetorical question. It doesn't require an answer because I think we all know the answer. And the answer is, do you want to live a healthier life and a longer life? Let me share with you what Proverbs says about this, right? Proverbs says, "A tranquil heart gives life to the flesh." A tranquil heart. Think about that. A tranquil heart. You know, I've known people who are physically fit. They can run 5 miles, 6 miles, but they live this life of tension. And you expect them to be a lot more healthier than you. And yet I've seen people who are healthy, eat the right foods, exercise, but they've got so much stress in their lives that boom, before you know, they got a heart attack and they're gone. I mean, those things happen. Here's another one that comes to us from a letter of Paul in the Philippians. It says, Philippians 4:7 says, "And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus."
Amen.
See, God wants us to have peace. That's why he shares this word with us today. Peace of mind makes the body healthy. Peace of mind does that. See, it's not always about the 2 all-beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Now, if you're as old as I am, you know what that is. I eat 2 of them a year. But I don't think the 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun is going to kill me. Probably what will kill me is stress. Before that does, for all of you who don't know what that is, it's a big Mac. You're old, so you know. They've been into it. 2 of them a year with my grandson. Probably won't kill me. See, it's not always what you're eating that's going to kill you. It's what you're doing in your stress life. It's finding that peace of mind. So I'm going to share with you 7 habits, 7 spiritual habits that will reduce your stress, and all of them come from this Psalm 23. And they all actually relate to and parallel what the common stressors that we talked about. For example, the first one was worry, right? It says worry because we always have that thought of, will I get what I need when I need it? Can I count on others to help me meet those needs? I mean, thank God that Hector showed up today. But the truth, Hector, we probably wouldn't have got it done without you. But Hector did show up. Not everybody does though. Sometimes you depend on others. And God is saying, don't always depend on others, because there's no man, there's no woman, there's no friend, there's no family that can do this for you. Only God can do this for you. So the very first one is Look to God to meet all of your needs. That's the first thing David in this psalm says that we need to do. Look to God to meet all of our needs. It calms me down if I do that. I won't be disappointed because I'm trusting in God. See, if you trust in your job security, if you trust in your marriage, if you trust in your money, all of that can be taken away. We know that. But when you put your security and find your security in something that can never be taken away, it changes the whole thing. Because you can lose your job, you can lose your health, you can lose your reputation, you can lose your spouse, you can lose your mind. But you can never lose your relationship with Christ. The Bible says nothing can separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You can't lose that. Psalm 23:1, David says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I mean, there's nothing that I need that He won't provide for me, because He's my shepherd. So I stop expecting other people to meet all of my needs, knowing that God will do that for me. Even in the Bible, in Romans 8:32, what's it say? It says, He who did not spare His own Son, but gave Him up for us all, how will He not also with Him graciously give us all the things that we need? Think about that. The logic tells you that if God loved you enough to send His Son Jesus to the cross, to die on the cross for us, don't you think that He loves us enough to take care of our needs? I mean, the answer, of course, is yes. We know it is. There's no one, possibly no one, that can meet all of your emotional, physical, and spiritual needs. David says, I'm not looking to others, I'm looking to God. He says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Look to God. That's the bedrock. That's where it all begins. If we put God first and we say, I'm going to look to Him, that's the bedrock. That's the foundation for meeting all the other situations that cause us stress in our lives. And the second one is, I need to obey God's instructions about rest. Boy, this is one that spoke to me. It's amazing that God is asking me to speak to you this morning. I don't even know if I'm worthy, because I'm one of those that probably doesn't rest as much as I should. He says in verse 2a, he says, He makes me lie down in green pastures. You know, most of the stress comes from being in a hurry, right? Feeling like you just got too much to do and you never get caught up. How many of you feel like that? I mean, this is a time of true confession, right? I know there are. I know people will just say it. It's true. I feel like I'm never caught up. I feel like I'm always behind. So what do you do? It says, look to God for Him to meet your needs, but it also says, look to God and follow His instructions and obey His instructions on us. Now, we're supposed to sleep 1/3 of our lives. Why do you think that's true? Because God created us that way. This is just a coincidence. That's how God created us. Why is rest so important? Think about it. It's in the 10 Commandments. In fact, it's the 4th commandment. It's right there, just below, you shall have no other gods. And what's the other one? You shall have no idols. Right? It says you should not take the Lord God's name in vain. And those are the 3 that talk about our relationship with God. Then it has, what? Keep the Sabbath day. Make it holy. And then He puts that before what? He puts it before honor your father and your mother, before committing adultery, murder, covet. I think it's important. It just sounds to me, keeping the Sabbath is probably pretty important if God put it in the 10 Commandments in that position that He put it. He says that after He finished the creation, the 7th day He rested. See, God doesn't really need rest. I mean, He doesn't get tired. He was trying to give us a model that we should follow about resting. Because the Sabbath was a time for rest, recreation, and restoration. He makes me lie down. That's what that says. You know what? If you haven't been there already, I can tell you for a fact. It's like sooner or later, if you're not getting the proper rest, sooner or later, your body's going to say, I need to lay down. I need to take some rest. I just know so many people that have been through that. It happens. Or you have a situation in life, a physical situation, that causes you, some health situation, causes you to lay down. He makes me lie down. So important that the Old Testament in Exodus 34:21, where it talks about that, right? It says, 6 days you shall work, but on the 7th day you shall rest, in plowing time and in harvest time. See, the Sabbath is for resting the body. It's for what? Refocusing the spirit. It's for recharging the emotions. It's funny because I thought I know just from other pastors that the Sabbath for the pastors is usually Monday, because Sunday is a work day for us. So Monday's our Sabbath day, and so there's this person, and this is a story, it didn't happen to me, it happened to another pastor, where this person calls this pastor and says, man, I tried to call you all day Monday. And the pastor says, oh, I'm sorry, that's my day off. And he says, well, the devil never takes a day off. He says, and if I didn't take one, I'd be just like the devil. And have your Sabbath day. That's how it works. So I look to God to meet all my needs. The Lord is my shepherd. I obey God's instructions about rest. He makes me lie down. The third one is recharge my soul with beauty. You know, how many of y'all live in Palmas? Do you know how beautiful this place is? If you're going towards the gate, going out, there are two houses near overlooking one of the golf holes, right? And one belongs to the reggaeton prince or whatever his name is, and just on the top of that, there are two benches. If you were asked my grandson, what is my favorite place in Palmas? That's my place. If you ever just take a moment and sit in any one of those benches, and just take a look at the beauty of Palmas. Just take it in, and we get to sit and look at that. And every time he comes to Palmas, he says, Abu, that's your favorite place. After the hurricane, he says, oh gosh, look at that, man. That one bench is bent and the palm's gone. I said, don't worry, it'll come back. And he still thinks it is. There's so much beauty here in Palmas. And we get a chance to look at it, take it in, and allow God to recharge our lives with that beauty. Because ugliness stresses you out, right? Beauty inspires you, it encourages you, it motivates you, it builds up your emotions. I mean, it's just, think about the sunrise and the sunset here in Palmas. It's one of the most beautiful sunrises and sunsets. I mean, you know this. We live here. We get to enjoy that. And if people ask, how's it going for you after the hurricane? I don't even know what to tell them. You know, I feel almost guilty when I know that, for example, you've got an awesome view, but you still don't have electricity. I mean, I've got an awesome view and electricity. I mean, could you imagine me complaining about the aftermath of Hurricane Maria? And that's because man was made to live in the garden. We weren't made to do that. I don't know if you all remember this. Do you remember, anybody remember Woodstock? Well, you're really old. You're really old to remember Woodstock. Okay, well, there's this writer of a song, Joni Mitchell, that wrote this song called Woodstock. It was sung by Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Anybody remember Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young? Come on, that was pretty awesome, right? And this song has this. It's written this way. It says, I came upon a child of God. You can almost hear him singing it, right? I came upon a child of God. He was walking along the road, and I said, where are you going? He says, well, I'm going up to the farm for this rock and roll band. And in the chorus it says, remember the chorus? We are starless, right? We are starless. We are golden. We are caught in the devil's bargain, and we've got to get back to the garden. He's talking about the Garden of Eden. See, this goes back to even then. This problem of getting back to the garden isn't new. We've been talking about it for years and years, and we're going to continue to talk about it. Because God made us to be in the garden, to enjoy His beauty so that we can reduce the stress levels in our lives. So take that. Take the opportunity, if you live here in Palmas, to go before God in the morning, before you go to the TV, before you go to the emails, before you do anything else. Enjoy the beauty. It's there for you. Paul says in Philippians 4, he says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. That's what God is saying. Think about these things, and they're the ones that lower your stress. Really, just think about them, and you'll see. Just go to the Bosque. I haven't been there since but that was my second favorite place.
Where?
The Bosque. El Bosque. El Bosque, which is not too far from the Catholic Church, right behind the Catholic Church. There's this I guess forest, right? A
forest.
Small forest. It was a beautiful place. Yeah, my grandson and I loved it. There were little lakes there, and we'd take rocks and we'd skim them, and it was just taking in the beauty. Taking the beauty. The fourth one is go to God for guidance. Because we got all these choices, right? That's the common source, is the indecisions. We can't make up our mind. We're at that fork in the road. Have you ever been at that fork in the road? And you have too many choices. God says, make me the number one source of your guidance. No, the opinion of friends and family is very important. But God says, be careful because you need to check it with me. And certainly don't go to the pundits on TV. That's the last place you want to go. But to God for guidance. Because He'll always tell you the truth. So you go to God and say, I need wisdom, God. And you pray, and you ask, and you think, and you meditate upon that, and you're quiet, and you listen. And then you start sensing the presence of God. Not the right time. Maybe not immediately. But at the right time, God will answer. I remember when Elisa and I were looking for a place to live here in Palmas. You know, we looked at a lot of places. I mean, a lot. And we prayed about it, and we prayed about it, and then we came to this house that we live in now. But we just knew that was the place. And we know that was the place. And we know this is the place because yesterday was confirmed. For us to have these people come in and worship the Lord is just something that's spectacular. It tells us that was the place that God called us. That was the place where we made that cross. See, it was that place. You just wait. Come to God. Fifth one is trust God in the dark valleys. Oh boy. And David says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You know, we're all going to go through dark valleys in our lives. Many times, by the way. Again, anybody here willing to say, I've gone through some dark valleys? And if you're just one of the few, God bless you. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody in my immediate family or friends that have not gone through a dark valley. And you're going to go through them. And many times those dark valleys are related to a loss. So I want to share something with you that Elise and I learned. Because it's in loss, two things happen. Either you respond with fear, or you react with fear, or you react with grief. Jim Means, a friend of Darren Kessler, who introduced me to him, wrote a book called Leading into Pain. And it was a book that I read, and I later read the second one, and it was about really just grieving. And sometimes we suffer a major loss, and what we do is we bury it. You know, we act like it just doesn't exist, you know, like it'll go away on its own. God is saying grieve. Allow yourself to grieve. Let it go. It won't kill you, by the way. It's the natural transition in life when you have those dark places in your life. And what happens when you don't is you get stuck in those emotions. And I've seen too many people with strongholds in their lives. Anybody know what strongholds are? It's that thing that's in your life that just doesn't go away. And oftentimes those strongholds are situations in your life that you fail to grieve them, to go through them and say, you know, if you're going through hell, keep going because it's got to be better. That's what Rick Warren said. I agree with him. You're going through hell, keep going. There's something better at the other side. Trust God in your dark valleys. Stop pushing the pain down. Grieve it. Let it happen. On the other hand, fear is a bad thing. Fear is not what God calls us to do. You're never going to see in the Bible. There's not one scripture in the Bible that says, grieve not, sorrow not, weep not, or cry not. Anybody ever found that in the Bible? I have not seen it yet. Where God says, weep not. I mean, what He does say. You all know, right? It says, fear not. In fact, He says it more than 360 times in the Bible. He says, fear not. It says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. God is my protector. And if God is for me, who? I didn't hear it. No. If God is for me, who can be against me? Romans, right? Romans 8:31. If God is for me, who can be against me? Who? If you're going through the valley, if you're going through the shadow of death, if you're going through the shadow of debt, if you're going through the shadow of conflict, if you're going through the shadow of depression, it's scary. It is scary. And shadows are scary. We know that from when we were kids, right? But here's the thing. Shadows won't hurt you. You know, a truck will hurt you. But the shadow of a truck will not. Now, did you ever notice that the shadow is bigger than the object itself? If you stand in the shadow, it's actually, your shadow is actually bigger than what you are. Here's the good news. Did you also know that where there's a shadow, there's also light? Did you hear that? That there's also light. Isn't that true? So when you're in the shadow, look for the light. His name is Jesus. He's the shepherd. As long as you keep your eyes on the light of the world, his name is Jesus, the fear will go away. Pray like David did. He says, when my spirit faints within me, you know my way. In the path where I walk, they have hidden a trap for me. And so what he's saying is, when I'm ready to give up, when you're ready to give up, just know that God knows exactly what you should do. Trust in him in those valleys. It says that I don't have to know all the answers about what's going on in the shadows. Because I know, if I know God, God will guide me. That means I don't have to know God. David says, I'm going to let God be my defender. The sixth one is let God be your defender, right? It says here in Psalm 23, verse 5, it says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows.
Hallelujah.
Another conflict of stress, right, is opposition. It's conflict itself. Criticisms, attacks, people who simply don't like you. You know, you're just not going to look like a $100 bill for everybody that you run into. It's just I mean, I know we'd like to, but we're not. There are people that, when we live in a world of pluralism, where we live in a world of this broad diversity that we live in, that happens. And there are people, even in your family, in your surroundings, that they just never have anything good to say. They never enjoy your successes. They'll say something, oh, well, you got lucky. And I always hit it back with, it's funny, because the harder I work, the luckier I get. Because that's what pluralism does, right? It creates this broad base of diversity. And there's going to be people around you that don't agree with you. Our society, by the way, our civilization is losing, in fact, the civility. I think most of you will agree, not everybody, it's not a general statement that I want to make, but on occasion, have you found the world to be rude? People are getting ruder, they don't know how to say, excuse me, I'm sorry, let me open the door for you. And then, of course, we've got the internet. It's one of the causes of creating it. And the reason why, because the internet is something that you can be anonymous. You can go behind there, you can say whatever you want with the name that you want to use and say some really nasty stuff about people. Because that's the world that we live in. And so the question is, what do you do about this conflict that may be in your life? How do you respond to that? When everything in you wants to just respond, you got to get it right. You got to fix it. You got to say no. You don't have to do this on your own. I can do this for you. You let God handle that. You let God be your defender. See, David was anointed king. I don't know if you know this, but he was anointed king. He knew he was the rightful king. And he spent a good part of his life running, avoiding to be killed by the other king. People who were talking about him, he was hiding in caves and they were trying to demeanor him and to discredit him, and they lied about him being put down by a lot of people. But he never said, if you look at the scriptures, he never said anything bad about the king. He always said something good. And I believe because God said, I'm preparing you to be the man of our heart. David says in verse 5, he says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. And you anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows.
Hallelujah.
You could almost hear David saying, God, you're so good that in spite of all the attackers and all the critics, you just keep blessing me and blessing me and blessing me. And I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to trust you to be my defender. Psalm 18, David says, I love you, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation and my stronghold.
Hallelujah.
It's like he's saying, you're my defender, you're my protector, you're my fortress. In you I'm safe. And it takes faith to rest when you're being attacked. It takes daring faith to do that. And everything in you wants to just rise up and do something about it. When you're under attack, it takes faith to trust in God. It takes humility to not retaliate as a defender. And yet Jesus was also attacked. Do you know who Jesus was attacked by? Anybody know? By the religious people. That's the irony of it. Jesus was attacked by the religious people. Do you notice that the common people, the prostitutes, the tax collectors, the lepers, the outcasts, all loved him? His own people falsely accused him. The religious people. They would say stuff about him. And what did Jesus do? He said nothing. He said absolutely nothing, because he's modeling for us how we're to respond. We're more like Christ when we remain silent under our critique. It's easy to lash out. What do I know that feeling? Matthew 5, chapter 5, verses 11 through 12. It says, "Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven." It takes daring faith to let God be your defender. There's one more common stress, and it's to fear the future. That's how I ask the final point. Expect God to finish what He started in me. Are you afraid of the future? Are you a what-ifer? Anybody here a what-ifer? What if this happens? What if that goes wrong? What if it doesn't come through? What if that deal doesn't come through? What if the house is not sold? What if I can't buy that house? What if I don't get that job? What if I get a bad report from my doctor? You what if? Anybody here what if? Because I've been on this. Not even. We've been what-ifers. And if Lisa would say to me, just think about the worst that can happen, can you deal with that? And then she would say to me, if God's for you, who will be against you? Because here's what David says in verse 6. He said, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." That's what I've got to look forward to, right? Is goodness and love of God. And he says, "And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." I'm going to heaven no matter what happens. That was my message to my sister as she prepares for her transition from this world to that world. That no matter what happens, your place is secure. I know I'm going to heaven, but all of this won't matter anymore. Is that what you expect? Because a lot of us tend to look at the future in two ways. What if everything goes wrong and I don't have enough money, or I lose my job? Somebody walks out at me, what if? But you can do the other thing and look to the future and say, "Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Those are the options that we have. You can either see God things through God's perspective, or you can see them through the fearful anxiety that maybe lives in you. How do you lower your stress? You say, "I'm going to expect God to finish what He started." How do we do that? We talked about that a week ago. Setting faith goals. Because goals are statement of faith. They're saying, "I'm going to do this." Set a goal for your spiritual health. Set a goal for your physical health. You know, one of the toughest things about being a pastor and standing behind this pulpit and trying to connect with people is saying, "You know, I don't know what's weighing you down. I don't pretend to know. I don't know what burden you carry. Wish I did, because I pray for you. I do know the answer. And it's the last verse that I'm going to share with you that Asia actually shared with you this morning. That's why I smiled at it. God did it. That's how God works, right? He shows up and He shows off. And look what it says. It says, Jesus says, "Come to me." Not come to here or there, or come to your favorite place in the Bible. It says, "Come to me. All you who labor and have to labor, and I will give you more work to do." You know what it says? Does it say, "I'll give you more work to do, I'll give you some more tasks to help you reduce your stress"? He says, "No, come to me all who are heavy laden, and I will give you what? I will give you rest." He says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." He says, "Take my yokes upon you. Take it upon you. I'm going to share your problem with you. I'm going to share that load with you. I'm going to share that stress with you. I'm going to pull along with you." Wow, Jesus is saying, come, learn, take. Team up with me. Because if God is for me, who can be against me? Come on now. So write this down. same speed. I don't know if anybody or everybody can actually grasp that. Because there are things in my life I want to do, and I know there's things in your life you want to do. Can anybody, aren't there things you want to do? Aren't there goals that you have in your life? Would you like to play pro tennis next week or so? God says, no. Get yoked to me. And we're going to go in the same direction. And we're going to go at the same speed. The problem is that we're going in our own direction, and sometimes we're going faster than God wants us to go. He says, get yoked to me, and we'll go in the same direction at the same speed. Psalm 23, 1 and 6 is the answer. That's your stress management formula. God's word gave us the formula. Follow His word. Apply His word. Go from stress to bless. God wants you to go from stress to bless. So I wrote this prayer down, and I just want to, it kind of summarizes all that we talked about. And it's the benediction. So when we're done, you're dismissed with this prayer. So I want to share with you. It says, Lord, I know that there are many people who are tired and worn by the pace of modern living. And God, I know that you know of these different stresses that we all look to. So many of them can be seen right here in the midst of our lives right here today. We know, Lord God, that many people are stressed out and worried by fear, by conflict, by criticism, by indecision, by the rudeness of people sometimes, by a crowded schedule, by overworked. All of these different things, Lord, if we just do it your way, life would be so much easier. If we would just practice the 10 Commandments, if we would just keep the Sabbath to rest our bodies, to refocus our spirit, to recharge our emotions, if we would be filled, we would fill our souls with beauty instead of ugliness. We would hear sounds of beauty and see scenes of beauty, rather than filling our minds with negative news and pundits, so much negative talk shows, all the conflict that the media bombards us with. Lord, if we would just come to you, we would just take Psalm 23 and make it our own. Lord, I pray these things. I pray that each of us would take the steps that David took. We would take those steps today. And all of God's people said,